It's a good day today with the author of A Girl with a Bad Reputation, Dave Gioia. I'm really excited to be conducting this interview, Dave. And before we dive into the questions that I have, can you tell us a bit about yourself and your background as an author?
I certainly will. And stop me if I go on too long, okay?
All right.
So about myself, and this is relevant to why I am an author, why I became an author, okay? Um, so I'm an Army brat. My parents were both born and raised in New York City in the Bronx, right? Um, so that's our served in the OSS during the Second World War. And after the war, he decided to make the Army his career. And so we're an Army family, and I'm an Army brat, right? So I was born in 1950 in Yokohama, Japan, when he was stationed there. And I spent the first 2 years of my life in Japan. And like all Army families, we were nomads. Every 2 or 3 years, we'd pick up stakes and move, right? So, and we lived at various Army bases here in the United States, and also spent 3 years in Italy when he was stationed there. So, at a very young age, I had the opportunity to experience other cultures. And we traveled quite extensively throughout Europe when we were living there. So I was exposed to many different cultures at a very young age. So that obviously informs my outlook on life and my appreciation for people. And I'm fascinated by people. And I began writing at 7 or 8. I remember sitting on my bed in my bedroom in Italy, writing a story called McToad, which filled, I think, both sides of one sheet of paper. And it was about a toad with magical properties. And so I've written all through my life. I had a very long career as a marketing communication consultant, specializing in promotional materials for clients. And writing is at the core of everything that I did in my professional life. And so I retired from business, I think it was 2014, 2015, and have devoted my time to writing. So I've published 3 novels, and I'm currently working on my fourth.
Wow, that's a lot. That's really exciting because I we're talking about this, and now we will have more opportunity to dive into other things that you're working on as well. Um, what inspired you to write A Girl with a Bad Reputation? Were there any specific events or experiences that influenced the creation of this book?
There were. At one point in my junior high school and high school years, we were living in a suburb of Newburgh, New York, in the Hudson Valley. And that's where the story is set, in Newburgh. And the book is dedicated to a girl I once knew in the 60s and every girl who has one, meaning a bad reputation. So the female protagonist of the book is based on loosely on someone that I knew in that time period. And so I wanted to explore her story, right? Um, Not her story, but my protagonist's story. And it's set in the 1960s. And during that time period, I was very aware of events in the US and abroad, and specifically the war in Vietnam. So it was a very tumultuous time in the United States, what with the civil rights movement and anti-war protests. Um, and the war was very personal to me. My older brother followed in our dad's footsteps and was an Army officer, and he served two tours of duty in Vietnam while I was in high school. So I had kind of the inside story about what was going on there from my brother's point of view. Um, so yeah, um, I I tried to bring much of what was happening in the country during that period of time into the story. So it informs Colleen's life in the book.
Wow. Have you always wanted to be a writer?
Pretty much.
Are any of the characters based on real people or inspired by events in your real life?
um, yeah, there's an awful lot of me in the book. In one of the characters, one of the main male characters. So yeah, and as I mentioned, the female protagonist is based loosely on someone I actually knew at the time.
And what themes or messages did you aim to explore through A Girl with a Bad Reputation?
Well, friendship, the fragility of it sometimes, and the solidity of it sometimes. The various forms of friendship, um, and also sex. Um, it's a fundamental part of being human. And what I what about it I explore in the book is how it's used both as a way of receiving and giving pleasure, and also as a way to manipulate or be manipulated, all of which happens in the book.
Well, that's very interesting point, and it's enticing me even more to continue reading the book. I've already gotten a lot of good stuff from it. So I encourage readers to
Are
also
you are
listen.
you enjoying it?
Yes, I am.
Good.
Um, how do you think readers might relate to or interpret these themes?
Well, I would hope that they would reflect on them in their own lives, um, and also draw them deeper into the story. Those are two themes everybody can relate to: friendship and sex, okay? And beyond that, what the book is really about is becoming independent. When we first meet Colleen, she's 14 years old, okay? Um, and in that sense, it's a coming of age novel.
And can you walk us through your writing process for this book? Did you encounter any challenges along the way?
This book was a sheer delight to write. Um, that's the way I approach my writing. Um, I will get the germ of an idea and I let it lead me along, and I try to keep up, you know? Um, so, yeah, my writing process is to be unfettered and let it take me wherever it's going to go.
Very spontaneous.
I don't start with a very detailed outline. Um, that's part of the fun for me, is encountering characters who emerge, who I never anticipated were going to be in the story, right? Um, and things that happen, they just arise from the process of letting the story go where it wants to go.
How did you maintain consistency and authenticity in portraying the characters and storyline?
Well, um, consistency isn't a problem. I mean, what do you mean by consistency?
In how you were writing the storylines, like how were you able to make it still authentic to what you believed in the characters that you were portraying in the book?
Well, by being true to the characters, you know?
I agree because it yeah, that's how you give life to the characters, by staying true to what you also believe in as an author, um,
Mhm. Sure,
and how things are. I like
sure.
that.
Well, and also, it in creating a character, you have to create a personality, right? And once you do that, once you kind of begin to fashion a character's personality, there are things that that character is logically and believably going to do. And there are things that that personality just isn't going to do, you know? So by being true to the character, it's it's doing them justice. You know what I mean?
I agree. Now, were there any specific real life locations or inspirations that influenced the setting of the story?
Oh, sure. Newburgh is a character in its own right in the book. So yeah.
How do the relationships between characters drive the plot forward and shape the development of the story?
Well, that's the story. That's the story. I mean, uh, yeah. Is there something in particular you're trying to get at?
No, just curious as to how you were able to move forward with the story, starting with the plot of it. Um, all in your mind, right? Great. A girl with a bad reputation seems to confront societal stigmas and taboos. Could you elaborate on this aspect of the book?
I can, and I don't want to give too much away, but um, yeah. How far into the book have you gotten?
I don't want to spoil it either, so I just want you to,
Okay.
however way you would.
Um, well, Colleen um, is a bit promiscuous, shall we say, um, relative to her peers. Um, and it was fascinating. As I mentioned, she experiences both sides of sex, you know? Um, and it was fascinating letting her go on that journey where she's experiencing both sides of things and seeing how it informs her life and her view of other people.
There's really a lesson to everything, right? And I'm glad that you were able to portray that. What do you hope readers will take away from reading A Girl with a Bad Reputation?
A deeper understanding of what reputation is really all about. Everybody has one, for better or worse, right?
Mm-hmm.
And if you get tagged with a bad one, you've got your work cut out for you, right? It's like climbing up the side of a mountain to get above it.
Yeah. It-
So, in thinking about reputation and what what that can do to someone, I think one of the things that I would hope people reflect on is how they impact other people's reputation, right? And kind of value their own reputation a bit more, you know what I mean? Or consider their reputation. Because after all reputation is kind of a record of our interaction with other people, right?
I agree.
So we all kind of create it, and we can all have either beneficial or an injurious effect on other people's reputation. So it matters how we conduct ourselves as well, right?
And based on what you just said, what do you want them to take away from that?
Be careful how you treat people. Be careful.
That's very profound, very
Uh,
short but profound. It has a lot of meaning to it, so I love it. Is there a particular message or insight that you personally took away from writing this book?
yeah. Um, how profoundly we can be affected by people without really knowing it at the time. I hadn't thought about writing this book since the 1960s until, relatively recently. But I have never forgotten this person, right? So she has kind of lived inside my head all these years, which says something about the power of people's impression on us sometimes. I mean, not everybody that we meet in life has such a lasting impression or makes such a lasting impression. So here we are decades later, and I was inspired to write a novel about her, you know? So,
Mhm. And how has the process of writing A Girl with a Bad Reputation impacted you as an author?
um, it's given me the opportunity to grow. I mean, with each of my books, I'm more experienced as a writer. I'm hopefully um, better at the craft, you know? So,
It's like aging as fine wine, huh?
well, it's like any craft, right?
Mhm.
Uh, the more that you do it, the more experienced you become. Hopefully, you're learning from it, right? Like I'm not afraid to go back and take a good hard look at what I've written. So
Which leads me into my next question. As a successful author, given that you've written several books, what advice would you give to new writers and authors?
don't give up, and don't be afraid to get counsel. You know what I mean? Put what you've written under somebody else's nose and be ready for an honest opinion about what you've written. And don't take it personally. Okay?
That's my favorite advice. Don't take it.
Don't take it personally.
A lot of people stop seeking
Well,
advice because of that.
stop and think about it, okay? I forget who said this, but it was said that writing is the public act of a solitary individual, right? So the whole purpose of writing, unless you're just writing for yourself, okay, is to put it in front of other people for their enjoyment, right?
Mhm.
So you got to be ready for what people have to say, both the good and the bad. I mean, that comes with the territory, right?
Yep. In anything you do in life, it does.
Yeah.
Um, Finally, can you tell us where we can purchase your book?
It's available at Amazon. Uh, it's available from Bookmark Alliance. Um, it's available at Barnes and Noble. And there are probably other outlets that I don't know of, but you know,
Well, thank you for sharing that. How was your experience working with Bookmark Alliance?
I've really enjoyed working with Bookmark Alliance. Everyone that I have dealt with has been very professional. Um, and I look forward to moving forward with them.
Well, thank you for that feedback, Dave. I'll make sure to let our team know, and we hope to
Please
continue
do.
this lovely journey with you. It was a great day spending some time with you and asking these questions. Really look forward to reading the book.
Enjoy it. I hope you enjoy reading it as much as I did writing it.
All right, perfect. Thank you.
I've enjoyed it. Thank you.